Hey, hey, hey. All right, today we're going over 3 different grammatical errors, but we're only going to do one question for each. So, pay attention. All right, the first one is parallel structure. And we're going to do question 8 from test 1. So let's go there. And this is a pretty long question. Sentence. But we're going to read the whole thing for full context. So it goes, nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food. It is an excellent source of calcium and protein, serves to be a digestive aid, and it contains few calories in its unsweetened low and non-fat forms. Okay, so part of the problem with this question is the sentence contains 2 different errors. There's number 7 and number 8. And so depending on the order that you're watching these, we could have already gone over serves to be a digestive aid, number 7. So for purposes of this question, number 8, I'm going to correct number 7, which was serves as a digestive aid. Number 7, the answer was B. So I'm going to correct that. And so it flows a little bit more easily. Now, if you notice, this is a list. The first half says it's a sentence with a colon. Nutritionists consider Greek yogurt to be a healthy food, colon. And then it lists 3 things that are great about Greek yogurt. So the first one, well, actually, before I begin, parallel structure means that every single thing, whether it's a list, like in this case, or between the first half of a sentence and a second half of a sentence, looks the same. It's in the same grammatical structure. So in this case, it's 3 items in a list. So let's look at those items and see if we can tell what kind of grammatical structure there is. Of course, also when we look at number 8 answers, we see that it's all forms of contain. It's like what verb tense should it be in. So we're looking specifically for verb tense. Okay, so the list starts, it is an excellent source of calcium and protein. Is the present tense. The second item is serves as a digestive aid, also present tense. So we clearly want a present tense verb. So if we go to the answers, we see that D is future tense, will contain. We can get rid of D. And all the other 3 seem to be in present tense, so I'm just going to continue on with the analysis. I see here, if I'm looking, A has the word it, and B and C don't have the word it. So remember, when you look at the answers, it tells you how to think. It tells you what do I need to analyze? What questions do I need to ask myself in order to get the right answer? So I'm going to ask myself, well, do I need the word it? And because it's a list and it's parallel structure and every word or item in the list should be the same, that means every item should have an it. So if we look, the first one has an it. The second one just says serves as a digestive aid. There's no it. So that means it isn't part of all of the items, so we can cross off A. I hope that's clear. So now it's just between B and C, and we would go back into the list. B has an ing, which means all of the items should have an ing. And if we look at the list, none of the verbs have an ing. The answer has got to be C. All right. Again, this is the only question we're going over for parallel structure because it's not, there are not that many parallel structure questions, but it is something to be aware of. And once you know it, you see it, it's pretty easy. So it's an easy point. Okay, the next question, or the next grammatical error we're going over is wordiness. And this is a good one to know because it's easy. So we're going to do question 13. Now, we've already visited this question before, and the question reads, which choice most effectively combines the 2 sentences at the underlying portion? I meant to say we visited the sentence before. Okay, so we're combining this question. We have two sentences in the paragraph, and we want to make it one. But the error is wordiness. So when you look at the answers and you see that they're all saying the same thing, this is actually pretty similar to what I said under the syntax rule. And if you haven't seen the syntax video, you'll know what I mean when you see it. We want a short and sweet answer, right? When all of the answers say the same thing, but it's just what's the right way to say it, we want short and sweet. The SAT test makers hate wordiness. They don't like redundancy, which is extra words, and they just don't like excess wording. And you'll see when we go over the answers, you'll see what I mean. So right away, when you look at the answers, you see, okay, A is short and B, C, and D are about the same length. So as I look at what the content is, they're all basically saying the same thing, right? They all have summer, comma, and then talking about the thawing, something following. So right away, I'm attracted to A because it's so short. So that's what I want to do. I want to follow that impulse, that attraction, and just read A in. And I read, typically the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thawing in late summer, following several weeks of higher temperatures. That sounds perfectly good to me. Now I can just pick it, circle it, and be done. Or if I'm just really extra careful, I will glance at B, C, and D and make sure they're not saying anything that is actually necessary. And I look, and it already says thawing in the first half of the sentence. So you don't need B or C, which say thawing again. That's redundancy. It's wordiness. And D doesn't say thawing, but it says this evidence, which is referring to the thawing. It's the same thing. A is the answer. Okay, the third and last issue for today is called a misplaced modifier. Blah, blah, blah. I don't really care if you don't remember that particular grammatical title, but once you understand the error, it's super easy. So that's why I'm going over it. There won't be too many questions on the test like this, but again, super easy point if you understand the concept. So number 24, and we read, having become frustrated trying to solve difficult problems, no colleagues were nearby to share ideas. So in the title, Misplaced Modifier, the modifying phrase is that first half of the sentence. And if you notice, it starts with an ing word, and they often do. Having become frustrated trying to solve difficult problems, well, the other feature is that there's no subject in that phrase. So we don't know who is frustrated. So whenever you see this modifier, right, or this little phrase with an ing verb and no subject, you want to put the subject right after the comma. So you have to determine who is frustrated by looking at the answers. So B, all right, well, actually A says no colleagues. So you ask yourself, well, are no colleagues frustrated? And that doesn't make any sense because the sentence says, having become frustrated, somebody is frustrated. Okay, so A is out. Now B just says colleagues, and colleagues could be frustrated. Let's just leave it in for now. C says ideas. Now remember, we're just looking at that first word. We don't even care what the rest of the sentence says. Ideas cannot be frustrated. C is out. And D says I, and I could be frustrated. So it's either I am frustrated or colleagues are frustrated. And if you read the sentence again for context, I think it's clear that I am frustrated because there are no colleagues nearby with whom I can share ideas, right? So D is the answer, okay? So once you know how to spot that and then you understand that the subject of the sentence, which is not in the first half, has to come immediately after the comma, from there on, it's pretty easy. Okay, that's all I have for today. I'll see you next video. Bye.